the capability of the emotional level of the physiology to function from very, very, very fine to very crude is based on self-interaction. So the more loving, the more kind, the more sensitive, the more tender, the more empathetic and compassionate we can self-interact, the more we're able to refine the capabilities of the heart to be like spun silk, to be very, very delicate in its nature. There are categories of people, as long as we're working with the family of humanity here, we're working with the collective. And let me just make another point. Why we're working with the collective on this one is because Earth and humanity right now is dealing with collective abuse. This is what's happening. If we look out at the big level, we know some people are happy, some people not so happy. But overall, if we look at the news and we look at the kind of sort of horrific and tumultuous events are occurring, you know, with major terrorist attacks like almost every other day, it seems like. It's very, not to be putting too much attention on that happening, may they subside, but that heat, that sort of explosive abuse of a heat thing, and of course the whole political situation in America that goes way beyond politics and is overlapping into media and military and economics, and the whole thing is getting all shaken up. All this shaking that's occurring in the collective consciousness is a byproduct of the fact that humanity has been in an abusive relationship with itself for a long time, And one of the reasons that those abusive relationships happen is what we get are individuals who are self-interacting abusively. And so they're not, in their hearts, they're not able to function within the full potential of the heart. Isn't able to do its thing. It isn't able to flow in those very, very tender, very, very silent and refined expressions. So when we think in terms of weaving, what we have is we have fine threads and coarse threads. And if two silken hearts get together and they weave a fabric together, you get this beautiful, fine, delicate, which is what we're doing. We're doing that in this group. And if you get the crude energies in there and that starts to weave into the fabric, you get a fabric that has different qualities. The fine fabric has certain qualities that make it very ethereal, very beautiful, very celestial, and supports the activation of capabilities and strengths that are only available at those very fine levels of creation. But you get some of that crude material in there, and you get a different kind of a strength in the material. You get a material that's also interfacing with the denser levels of creation, but also has the fine fabric in it as well. Has some of the fineness and some of the crudeness. And for every layer of creation, there's a specific fabric which is more appropriate for that. And so we can't say, well, that shouldn't happen at all, because if it's happening, it's happening. You know, if there's some discord or there's some dysfunction, then that dysfunction is part of the story. And it's there to speak to or communicate with those fine impulses of the heart to teach them how to be strong. It's like you isolate out what makes the wool so strong. You know, is it its abrasiveness, or is there a way to integrate the strength but still keep that smooth texture? In the group, we're kind of weaving together our emotional structure here. And it's good because, this is interesting. Remember I was saying the dense, more abrasive fibers mix with the fine ones and make them strong. But guess what? I'm seeing in the group as we're doing this very sweet weaving together of the softness of our hearts, like a bundle of sticks, can also be very strong. It can be stronger than wool and silk together even. Anyway, what is a big crude piece of jute or something? It's a bunch of small fibers together, right? But those fibers in the case of jute or wool, they're a little thicker, they're a little denser. But if you had something just that big, but made of super, super, super fine fibers, it would be stronger. And here's my question that I'm putting out to the group, to the divine being of all of us. How is it possible that any one of us can do that? Is it possible? Understand, everybody, this is a point that came up yesterday. In the past, the way people got things done, the way they made the world do what they wanted it to do, is they got in there and they just bullied people and pushed them around and smacked them around and forced them to do what they want them to do. Abusive relationships kind of play on that principle that, well, you can't get anyone to do anything. You can't get anyone to hear you unless you scream at them. They won't hear me if I just say it nicely or something like that, you know? So, what if the heart's capability to function at a very, very delicate level could somehow multiply up on itself, multiply those strands, so you could make a big, thick, heavy fiber or band that's made of many, 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 many. This is like nanotechnology in energy work. You could have a big, thick band, but it's made of very, 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 very fine fibers. It would be stronger, I bet, than the biggest, thickest piece of jute. And I'm asking Mother, asking the divine self, can we do this? Can we do this for everyone in this group? Of course we can. Of course you can. How did the idea come up? We did it as a collective. I saw us do it. I saw everybody's heart with their sweet, yummy, soft fibers, their sweet, tender hearts working together on a collective level. And so we can do that internally because there's a structure at the celestial level of the body. And that structure allows for the multiplication of whatever we offer it. It's like a law of nature. There's a law of nature that multiplies. And it multiplies the way a chamber full of mirrors multiplies. You drop in an impulse and it just bounces back off itself. And what happens is that chamber is offered to the feet of God. It's offered into the field of infinity. So the multiplication goes to infinite. Everyone's tender hearts, tender love, tender sweetness, multiplying to infinity. We are creating strands. We are creating ropes. We are creating beams of consciousness, the like of which I have not seen before. And the universal language of perception and experience is that which connects us to everything in creation. So there is a matrix of life. There is a system of these beams of consciousness everywhere. And that matrix is receiving information from these ropes. It's looking at them and it's going, oh, look at this. This is interesting. This is expanding my range of capabilities. This is giving me something new to play with, something new to explore, something new to apply to my own inner intelligence. The source of creation is doing that. You guys did it. Super cool. These ropes, okay, the information's coming back. We offered that to the feet of the divine. And as it comes back, Mother Creation is saying that these are the ropes on which we will build the matrix, which will save and protect this earth from the manipulation and abuse that it has been under for so very long. This nanotechnology that we've come across, thank you everybody, you created this. This nanotechnology is stronger than any crude fiber. And bigger. It can be bigger. Good. So the boundaries and limitations that give rise to the production of these crude fibers, these beams or streams of consciousness which are unrefined, and also there are incompletions in them. We need to realize that when somebody comes from the angle of abuse and manipulation, that's because there's something missing for those people. This technology that we're creating has wholeness in it, completeness, totality, resolution. It can move in ways that those other fibers are stiffer. This one is infinitely flexible, infinitely pliable, and also infinitely strong at the same time. So I'm just going back into the divine being and asking if that can, thank you. We're a little bit off our topic, aren't we? We're going to come back. We still have plenty of time. I'm looking at my clock. But thank you for bearing with me, everyone, because this was important. We need this earth, the family of humanity needs to eradicate abuse and manipulation from the collective consciousness yesterday. So, and it's not even funny. So I'm just asking how this structure can be applied. First of all, everyone's God presence is receiving a download of how to accommodate the creation of these great ropes, these great nanotechnology ropes made of the finest, most delicate impulses of compassion and empathy and sweetness and light. What I'm seeing is that it's easier to make that. It's easier to structure the emotional structure of the being with this technology than it is to create tough, crude, hard ropes of unrefined material. It actually takes a huge amount of energy to do that. And that's why they need to extract, they need to, people who are functioning that way need to create like a lot of fear in the environment because they're feeding off the fear. You don't need energy from other people. You don't need anything outside of your own ability to self-communicate your own self-relationship with your divine being. That's all you need. You've got that inner teacher, that inner guru going on there, and then it loops back in on itself. There's a looping in of that infinite compassion, that capability of recognizing anyone or anything as infinitely precious, and it just makes the ropes. We're doing the 100th monkey effect. The information's just going out to the collective of humanity right now. And it looks like systems are being, the divine intelligence within creation is setting up, the adjustment is being made in the matrix of life and setting up the system in such a way as to accommodate these bigger, more full-bodied, more strong and flexible structures of consciousness, which are creating a sort of a system of open flowing communication that was more open, even with, God bless the internet, but even more open, the internet. And I'm just asking back into my divine self, if somehow these ropes will help everybody on earth establish a relationship with themselves, which is so infinitely loving that we may bridge into another higher level of energy healing technology, which is, no matter how sweet and how refined our hearts are, can we go deeper? Just just, is there even a limit? Is there even a limit of refinement? Can we go, if we've got nanotechnology that's down to a certain level of refinement, can we go infinitely fine? Infinitely fine. Infinitely. I'm saying it over again. Sorry, because the word has the right vibration in it. No sorry, just is. The answer coming back from Divine Being is, this is the heart of Mother Divine. Here, she's saying, oh, you found my heart. That's what she's saying. Oh, you wove your heart together with my heart. That's what she's saying. That when we choose or select to refine our own heart capability to infinitely fine, that is when we find ourselves married to the Mother of Creation. We find ourselves infinitely connected to the Mother of Creation. Intimately. No separation. And I actually spoke quite a bit about that in yesterday's webinar. So if there's time at the end, we can go back and go into more detail on that whole thing, marriage and all that. But for now, it's good. Everybody's download, everybody's heart. This actually is extremely healing for the physical heart and the heart chakra as well. So I'm just feeling the shift, the transformation, the evolutionary expansion of capabilities in the heart and heart chakra area. Beautiful, beautiful, everybody's beautiful heart. Thank you, guys. It's like it builds up in layers, right? You take what you've got, your resource, you put it together and you do something really refined with it, and then that reflects back in a loop that creates further refinement. Nice job. But here's the question. Dorothy, can we weave our web of love into the fabric of discord itself, healing and elevating the density, freeing it to join us in the heart of Mother Divine? One part of the answer is it's already happening. The other part of the answer is because we put the intention out there when this was all creating. In other words, it manifested forth because we decided that this was something that was important for all of our own self-healing. It was important that we created this structure so that we would all become invincible, and in the light of what we're all experiencing collectively on Earth at this time with these heavy energies. And so because that was part of the intention, there was a little kind of very delicately our intention moving in that direction, but I absolutely love that you came out and expressed it in a very well-worded question. So what we do is we just offer that beautiful question back to the feet of Divine Being and see if Ma wants to bring forth any more detail on how that's working. See, what I see when I look at this thing, when I offer it in and then it comes back, I say see, but really it's like perceive, I guess would be a word, because it comes through many sensory channels at the same time, is that behind their layers, one of the things that makes, for instance, terrorism so challenging and complex a topic to deal with is that it's in multiple layers itself. It's not in infinite layers. It can't. Because when you get to infinite, we're dealing with pure being, which is absolutely life-supporting. And as we know, there's something somewhat non-life supporting about terrorism. So, but there are layers. And what I see happening here is a kind of an outpouring, or the terrorism itself seems to be more of a reaction to something that's at a deeper layer. So when I asked Ma, where do those threads need to go? Like, how can they get in, as you mentioned here, into the heart? Or how can they get into the fabric of the discord? We want to get to the heart of the discord, right? To the very deepest level. So down to its individual fibers, if we will. I've looked at this so many times. It's so dense. Behind the reaction of the poor and suffering in various parts of the world, behind their willingness to commit heinous crimes and murder many people, are individuals who are sitting in great power and great comfort. I see, every time I look, that's what I see. I see individuals, and not a lot of them. And there is, when I look into the hearts of those individuals, we did a little bit of this yesterday too, and also mentioning that my second Detroit video also looked into some aspects of this. When we look into those hearts, what we see is a lack of ability to perceive humanity as precious and valuable, as human. There's some kind of disassociation with humanity itself, with human nature. I see a dysfunctionality that's so extreme that it doesn't even see people as people. It sees people like, my son was saying, if I sneeze and a bunch of bacteria fly out of my mouth, those guys might be goners. I just killed 10,000 bacteria or something when I sneezed. It's a little bit like that there's a level of consciousness that's so big and so powerful and so full in its own arrogance in itself that it only sees, it doesn't even see humanity as a humanity. And I'm asking Ma, because Ma is bigger than that. I'm kind of looking, I'm thinking, sometimes it looks so big and dense. But I'm asking Ma to please look at that. I've seen this before. Oh. So we're looking at something quite old. Life takes lots of different forms, lots of different manifestations. And what I'm seeing is a very, very old energy that's sitting not just in our solar system, but in other parts of our galaxy. And I'm seeing this asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter as something that used to hold life, that used to be a planet. It used to be a planet. This is just my perception on this thing, that there is there was a wave of destruction that moved through an aspect of the galaxy, that we're in that space, we're in a space with that had this destructive effect, had the ability to destroy planets. It's big, it has the ability to do that. And it's in space, it's in the space around our solar system, is moving through like rough waters. You could call it rough waters. And so that's why these beams have to become really big. And one of the pieces of information that's coming through to me now is that we may have to build a structure a little bigger than what we've built just with our individual group. And know that the family of humanity is attempting to do this right now. I see the teenagers doing it. I see them, creating bonds of closeness with each other. It's subtler on the level of consciousness. That's deeper than the kind of bonds that I forged with my friends at that age. They're working to do this. The whole world is working. So here's my question to answer this question. Ma, can we do it quickly? Can we do it if we need to help form, the whole of humanity needs to get on board and create these tender, this nanotechnology streams of, or fibers of heart. Can we engage the capabilities of Lord Kalabhairava, which is like an aspect of Lord Shiva, which has the ability to manipulate time? And that's also, mind you, a resonation like the inner guru. You have the inner Lord of Time, which is an aspect of our celestial bodies. Activate that Thank you. And that's happening. Feeling very good there to push this agenda forward a little faster so that Earth receives the download. So Earth is receiving the download. The download that all of us got earlier is now being received by the family of humanity, the individuals in the family of humanity who have already present in their physiologies the capability to be silk. Those individualities, those individuals who have those hearts of spun silk, they're receiving that download so that we've got a much larger collective. Tens of thousands? No. Hundreds of thousands. Millions? Can we get to millions? Please tell me there are at least millions of people on Earth who can do this. Thank you. Some. We're drawing on ancestors. The ancestors will help. How sweet. How exciting. How exciting for the family. Oh, thank you. Their families. Oh, good. Oh, this is what's pushing the agenda forward, guys, is that I found up to hundreds of thousands of people already present, hearts capable of producing spun silk that are receiving the download now and that are forming together all their fibers so that we're getting big, thick, strong threads. But by going into the ancestral lines of us, and of them, we're able to touch a larger portion of humanity and get downloads for them, which are for expansion of their hearts so that they can expand their capability of loving at very, very, very tender levels. So there's a lot of heart healing going on Earth right now. Very deep. Very nice. That gets us into millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, tens of millions. Well, that's okay. That's a big increase. Tens of millions, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, so almost 80 million, almost nearly. This is a number that I'm getting. And as those heart expansions are taking place for this up to 80 million people, then that can, this is again the work of Lord Kalabhairava, or this, we can call these laws of nature activation. You are the laws of nature at the celestial level of your physiology. So this is what we're doing. This is our role, is to activate that aspect of our being. The law of nature of manipulation of time, the law of nature, which also is has a Hindu name, Narasimha, which is able to find solutions where no solutions can be found. Was that law of nature, that aspect of consciousness that got the idea to bring the ancestors in once again for now the up to 80 million people. So that expansion of the heart, that tenderness, that refinement of heart, which is taking place for the 80 million, is also taking place for their ancestors. So now we've got a nice big body. So this becomes, you can see how healing ourselves becomes a process of healing the whole world. And in this case, because the intention is so pure and so sweet, the healing of the whole world is not just healing it right now at this moment of creation, but to address this dense non-appreciation of human energy, which has manifested within physiologies for centuries. What's happening is this softening, a refinement of heart value for the ancestors, then can expand the work that we're doing to hundreds of millions. So it's making a big shift in the whole field. The field is shifting out in layers or ripples. Man, good question. So the softening of the hearts, because what happens? If someone whose heart is softening, and then their ancestors going back 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, more generations, then what happens is from those ancestors, that softening moves forward to somebody else on the earth who wasn't in that initial group of 80 million, right? So then it goes back, and then as it comes forward, it multiplies. Now, this brings us to something which I think is an important law of nature. It has nothing to do with today's topic, but I think I need to throw it out there before we get into our next thing. And that is that sometimes when things multiply, they disperse and become weaker. And sometimes when things multiply, they become stronger. So I'm just asking Divine Mother, Divine Being, the source of creation, infinite, unified field of all the laws of nature, can we apply that law of nature to this process, so that as this refinement of heart and creation of these great channels, these great rivers, these Ganga rivers of fine nanotechnology, that it expands the profoundness, the intensity, the goodness, the absolute value, the value of light in it expands as it expands out to larger and larger numbers of individuals on Earth. Here's what I'm seeing. There are already bands like this. We're creating them as humans right now on Earth. That's exciting for us. But there are already some that exist. Big ones. Bigger. In the heart of Mother Divine, infinitely big. And she's offering from her side. It's like those of you who are familiar with the seagull story, where the ocean took the seagull's egg and the seagull got mad and it tried to empty out the ocean, which of course was an impossible task. And finally, the king of the ocean came and went, "Oh, you just want your egg back? Well, here's your egg back." It's like that. We're kind of doing the seagull story all over again, that she is bringing in those chords, those big chords. She's bringing, I saw it coming right into Mother Earth through the center sun, chords of immeasurable size and strength and capability. And that is big enough to get rid of this energy, which is behind the discord that humanity is experiencing now. Thank you for this question. I just bow down to all of you. I just bow down to all of you again and again and again. Oh my God. Thank you so much.